Hey guys, this is Brandon with BackdoorGaming.net, and today I'm going to be giving you my loose impression of a game called Dragonball Z Xenoverse. So Dragonball Z Xenoverse is a new game that kind of takes away from what the Tenkaichi series was doing, but it keeps a lot of the same elements like the combat style and things like that. What I like the most about this game is the fact that it introduces a new storyline, that you create your own character and just kind of jump in and follow along with Trunks as a time patroller, I think is what they're called. Anyway, though, this is a game though that you definitely kind of want to play with a gamepad. You can play with mouse and keyboard, and it's better than some other, I guess, like beat 'em up games that I've played in the past. But it feels a lot more natural on the controller, to be honest with you. Let's kind of take a look at the options menu real fast. You can see that we have control settings. We have one cool thing is you can pretty much choose whatever you want to as far as keys go. You can rebind everything, and then we have a bunch of different. That's for player 1 and player 2. Let me go all the way up here. We have actually a couple of different controller types, A, B, and C, and then you can change your vibrations whether or not you want that on or not. I pretty much just stuck with A because that's what the default was. I didn't really, to be honest with you, change anything like this. And as fortunately with the control pad, you can't actually change any the button mappings or anything like that anyway. Camera settings I have introverted because that's just how I like to play. The camera speed setting is something that is a little bit weird, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but basically you have your Z scatter that you can use in some of the missions, and the sensitivity on thing is really crazy. So you can have it on like the second setting, and this would be basically like a snail's pace whenever you're not looking at that, but it's still really fast even with the Z scatter. So I kind of had a little bit of issues with going back and forth between those two things, but fortunately you don't have to use your Z scatter that much. I don't know why I keep calling it Z scatter because I think it's just a power scouter or power level scouter. I don't remember exactly because it's been a long time since I watched Dragon Ball Z. Anyway, then we have our regular game settings, which comes with our volumes, things like that. You can choose if you want cutscene titles, join settings. The game supports voice chat. We can adjust our brightness levels, and then we can adjust the graphics. These came pretty middle of the road, and honestly I haven't really checked on a lot of these things, but I'm running an R9 290 with a 4690K, I want to say. Everything's totally stock on it, and I get 144 frames per second, which is basically as high as I can really get. So I would probably, go further than that if my refresh rate on my monitor was higher than 144, but it's not. So otherwise, the main thing you want to really take away from this is the fact that it runs really well. Let's go back and let's go ahead and start in the game. Everything is kind of online, but you can choose, like I have here, to just kind of play offline. And basically what happens is you don't really get to use any of your offline features. And then here you see that we have our character select screen. Everything is locked for me at the moment because, like I said, I'm offline. But if we jump in here, we can kind of go ahead and get started. You can see I'm level 35. The level cap, I want to say, is 80. And it would honestly take a while to jump up to that level, because I've been playing for probably about 10 hours or so, and I'm only level 35. But anyway, so this is kind of where you don't really start off here, but this is the main game hub right here. And if we look, I am at the time machine station. The map is really small, but even still, it's a little bit of a pain trying to walk through everywhere. But this is basically where you kind of come in and do offline battles, online battles. You can register a team if you really want to go 3-on-3. And you can come over here and do these things called parallel quests, which are more like PvE things. We'll get into that stuff a little bit. Then we have our industrial sector, which as soon as I walk over here, we'll take a look at what that is. Alrighty, so this is the industrial level sector, whatever you want to call it. And I mean, it's pretty much exactly what you thought. You have all of your different shops here that you can buy things. Again, this is something we'll kind of go into a little bit later. The first thing I want to do is really kind of show us what the fighting is like in this game. So we're actually going to go over here to the Plaza of Time, because that's where all of your story missions are. So let's keep walking, keep walking. this is pretty much exactly what I meant by the fact that even though it's a small level, it's just a pain in the butt to sit there and have to walk from one point to the next. It'd be cool if you could just kind of teleport, you know, like you do in Dragon Ball Z, instant transmission. But unfortunately, you cannot. So we have to run all the way over here. So this giant building right here, it doesn't really have a name, but this is where we go and we meet Trunks. And the general gist of the story, I'm not really going to give anything away by saying this, but Trunks is a time controller, or time patroller. And what that means is he kind of helps the Supreme Kai of time over here keep everything in a series of checks and balances. So basically what that means is they just want to make sure the time stays the way that it is. Nothing ever changes. And the general gist of the game is that you've got this duo who basically are here to try and mess everything up. So if you come over here you can go through everything that you've played before. We're going to start with the prologue. And honestly, it's been such a long time since I played this that I don't even remember what the prologue is, but we'll kind of skip around a little bit just to kind of give you a good gist of what's going on. I don't want to go too far. Alrighty. So I want to say that they don't really fight here, but basically what we're doing here is we're kind of going back and forth through all the different basic things that happen in the Dragon Ball Z timeline. So what you can see here is I'm controlling Goku right now as in Super Saiyan form. And I have, if I press X, I have a regular weak attack, which will perform one type of combo if I just kind of spam it. Then I have a more powerful combo with my Y button, which we just kind of saw me use there. Let's wait for this to load. I'm going to skip over all these cutscenes. So anyway, we can mix and match the X and Y button and do a bunch of different combos. You can even hold it down if you really want to kind of get a good, nice charge-up attack going. But honestly, I found that to be kind of hit or miss. It would work sometimes, and other times it wouldn't do anything. Or I would just get punched in the face immediately. So you've really got to like get somebody in a good enough position where it's so hard to talk and fight at the same time. Anyway, get them in a good enough position where they're not going to be able to retaliate. So other things that we have is if we hold on our right trigger, we have a little menu that if you probably saw it 5 seconds ago where some things like the Kamehameha wave popped up in instant transmission, and you can use things like that.
All right.
So here I am, Super Saiyan 3. And we have this, if I hit right button, we have this lock on, which is super helpful. In fact, whenever you engage in an enemy, because most of the fights are usually 3-on-3. Sometimes they're 1-on-1, sometimes there are even more characters that you fight with. But this is kind of the general gist. You definitely need to be able to use the lock-on system, otherwise you're not going to be able to hit anybody, because the action is pretty chaotic. I'm going to pause it real fast while I talk about the rest of this. Anyway, my right trigger lets me open up a combo. Here's our combo list, by the way. You can see if the Y is bold like that, you can actually charge up your attack, which again, doesn't work all the time. I don't know why. Anyway, if we hold down our right trigger, we actually... I hit a wall there. So we have our Meteor Strike, for instance, Kamehameha Wave. These are all mapped to different buttons. Instant Transmission, which basically teleports us right there. And if we hold down, if you look up here in the top left corner, we have this blue bar up there. We have, which is our life meter. We have the yellow bar, which is your chi meter. And then your green bar is your stamina. So chi is used whenever you use any of your special attacks, so your right trigger. And if you hold down left and right trigger at the same time, you get your super powerful moves. So I'll show you what that looks like Super Kamehameha Wave, Spirit Explosion, Super Saiyan 3. In this case, it's infinite, but in the actual game itself, Super Saiyan will drain your chi bar the entire time. Anyway, and then we have our stamina bar. When stamina bar is basically like anytime I'm moving really fast, like if I'm flying around like this, you can see my stamina bar draining. And if I do any kind of instant transmission, like let's see if I can get Boo to attack me here. Alright, come on. So that right there, it uses something. And that drains your stamina. So it's really important because what happens is the game plays out like an RPG game and you build your stats and you build your character and you really have to figure out even beforehand how you want to build your character, because if you build somebody that's balanced, I hate to say it, but your character is going to suck. You can't really play a balanced character. The game just isn't like that, because if you do, you're just going to get stomped by somebody that's, you know, really good at striking or really good at something else. So let me jump into my stat screen real fast and kind of show you what I'm talking about here. So our menu here, there's a lot to this, but we're going to kind of go to our customize and see our boost attributes. And here you can see where I have my stats mixed or kind of spanned out around here. Basically, every time you level up, you get 3 attribute points, and you can put them anywhere you want to. There's a bunch of different, or I guess there's the Frieza race. You've got Saiyans, humans, and then you've got, I can't remember, Namekians. I think those are the only ones. And they each have their own set of attributes that they kind of start off with. I don't remember what they all are off the top of my head, but for instance, Saiyans have really low health, which means that you're going to get taken out pretty fast, but they have a lot of heavy hits, you know. So think about it kind of like, actually, you know, Goku's not even really a good example to use, because Goku never dies. Well, I guess he dies a lot, but he's always in there to the very end. So he can definitely take a beating, but you can't as a Saiyan in this game. So the other thing is you have really weak Chi Blast Supers is what they call it here. But to kind of go over this, you have your max health, which honestly, it's your max health. Then you have your max Chi. This is if you plan on going Saiyan, you need something in here, because like I said before, whenever you get into Super Saiyan mode, this is going to steadily decline. And the cool thing about Super Saiyan mode is as long as you're in it, you can use as many special attacks and super special attacks as you possibly want until your Chi totally runs out. Unlike before, where once you use it, you use a good chunk of it, and then you have to wait until you either get beat up or beat somebody up for it to replenish. Max stamina it builds up your stamina bar. Basic attack is pretty much anything, like whenever I hit my X button or just hit my Y button, or even, which I didn't actually show this, but your B button shoots just regular Chi attacks. Those things or your basic attacks are boosting those attacks. Strike supers are things, if you saw I held down right trigger and you had that meteor attack or whatever, that's what the super or the strike supers are. They're just normal hit attacks, you know. So this is the meteor attack or whatever it is just a flurry of hits really quickly. And so this is something you want to build up if you're building somebody that's really just going to be up there striking somebody. But if you're going to be somebody using a lot of Chi blasts, like Kamehameha waves or any you know special move that's in the Dragon Ball Z series is in this game. So you have the Big Bang attack, you've got Piccolo special beam cannon, Destructo disc, Mistinko blasts, all that cool stuff. And you could learn all of those, by the way. But those are all going to be contributed, or your Ki Blast supers are going to be contributing to how much damage those do. So what you can kind of see what I'm going for here is I'm going for max health. It's pretty much about where I want it to be. And then I want to build up my stamina because blocking exists in the game with your left button. And as a Saiyan, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to mitigate putting too much into my health, because I don't really want to take too much of a beating. I want to be able to block those, or I want to be able to dodge those hits. So instead of attributing things to my max health, I'm going to actually be building up my stamina. That way I can zoom around, I can just kind of keep going, you know, because if I don't have enough stamina, then that means I'm just a sitting target while I wait for it to build back up, which takes time, and I don't really want to do that, so I want to have as much stamina as possible. On the reverse end, you don't want to put all of your stuff into health, because then you're not going to be able to fly, or you're not going to be able to move. And stamina, to be able to move fast, it takes stamina. So that's why you don't want to put all of your attributes into max health. Anyway, so I'm also kind of building up my basic attacks a little bit, but I really want to kind of max out my blast supers, and that's where I'm headed with this build right now. But as you can see kind of right now, he's a little bit balanced. And that's okay because I'm level 35, and like I said, there's 80 levels in the game, so I still got a lot further to go. The other cool thing that you can see is my character almost looks a little bit like Goku, and that was totally unintentional. I just found the Super Saiyan Goku wig that I've got on, but you can actually customize your character pretty much however you want to. So I can change my my equipment to, for instance, if I wanted to dress up like Piccolo. Let's see, take off, all that stuff can stay. So I've got Piccolo's turban here, Krillin's cap. I can take off, I can use Yamcha's sword. This is what my character looks like right now. What else can I do here? Who else? I have GT Trunks clothes over here. So you can do a lot of different things. And clothes, if you look over here, these also kind of boost your stats a little bit. But honestly, it's like 1%, or it attributes to like 1% of your overall stats if you're like level 80 and you're maxed out. So clothes are cool mainly just because you can customize the way that you look. It's not something that you need to worry about. You don't need to sit here and try and min-max your clothes. Just kind of show what you really like. Your accessory is exactly that. It's just an accessory. Nothing on here actually does anything. And your Z-Soul is probably the most important thing, because if you kind of take a look at this does help your stats a little bit too, same thing. But the important thing is if you look over here, you see Goku Z-Soul, sorry. This activates when she is at max, and it basically increases your stamina recovery rate. So these do special things depending on this different circumstances, but they're random. That means that they proc at different times. They're not going to be something that you want to rely on, but when they're there, they're really cool. What this does, though, basically is it boosts my chi, and just, it's almost like being in Super Saiyan mode all the time, because your chi goes up so fast whenever this does proc. It just constantly refills my meter up all the way to full for a pretty decent amount of time. We can also change our skill set. So I have my super attack and the ultimate attack, and that's kind of what I was talking about before. I have a couple of different things, like Destructo Disc, Kaioken ×3, After Image, Solo Flare, things like that. Right now, since I'm working on just a chi build, I've got Evil Explosion, which is a Piccolo move. I've got Kamehameha, which is obviously Goku, Masenko, which is Gohan, Energy Charge. This is just a way that you can build up your chi kind of passive, well, not passively, but, you know, powering up just like in the regular game. Then I've got Super Saiyan unlocked because I am a Saiyan. Full power energy blast volley is just, it's something stupid. It's just really powerful chi blast. That's pretty much it. We have some different basically items that you can kind of take into battle with you. And those can be pretty crucial sometimes. But anyway, let's kind of go ahead and let's actually do a couple of more of these missions here, just to kind of show you what they're all about. So let's do something else a little bit. Let's do one preferably where I scored an A. That way I know that I'm not going to get my ass kicked here on YouTube. Alright, so as you can see, all of the games is basically, or not the game, the entire series is basically reenacted in-game, which I think is pretty cool. And you're just here helping out because, like I said before, there's a little duo that's just kind of coming into the original, I guess, timeline and just messing everything up. So at the beginning of every mission, we get this little cutscene, and then you start to fight. This actually wasn't a really good mission to really start off on, but I guess it's cool enough. Alright, so basically for this guy, all you want to do is you want to get his energy down because you can't, or his stamina down because you can't hurt him until his stamina is all the way down.
I see. Now I get it. The monster that killed Grandpa. He became a great ape, but that he'll turn back.
So unfortunately, you can't play as a Great Ape in game, which I think would be pretty cool.
Hey guys!
Alright, so that was pretty simple. I'm kind of overpowered for these early missions, just to kind of give you a heads up here.
That's it. Good. Keep concentrating.
Let's try a different one. Alright, so this is basically the last battle. In case you haven't followed Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta was a bad guy in the beginning and then became a good guy. Only because he really wanted to keep an eye on Goku over here so that he could try and eventually aspire to be better than him.
Bastards! You're absolutely begging to die today, aren't you?
Alrighty. So this is how most of the matches play out. You got your team of 3 guys. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. And then you're fighting usually one super powerful character. If it's somebody like Cell, Vegeta, Frieza, Majin Buu. But other times there's a lot of fights that lead up to that, and sometimes you're fighting a bunch of little throwaway characters like the Sabamen, and you're fighting, like, let's say 20 of them over the course of maybe 5 different waves of, you know, you against 4 or you against 3. Sometimes it's even more than that. But basically all you do is just beat the crap out of them. I mean, there's a storyline here, but you're just fighting. And that's pretty much all the story is.
It's back still. It should be.
I don't want to give too much away from it, so I'm just kind of bypassing all this. You can even see sometimes it shoots to
Oh, jeez.
to like regular
Oh,
TV show footage.
anyhow,
You know,
by the way, that
Let's
bird.
get
best
past
friend
all
that
this.
steps on.
This is good.
Thank you very much. What the?
Seems there are 2. I don't know what they're up to.
A time traveling.
Alright, let's get past all that. This is kind of how the storyline progresses. It starts in the Saiyan saga. I don't know why I almost said Scion. And it just progresses through. I've so far gotten to the Majin Buu saga, which is, to be honest with you, pretty tough at the end of it. And the game is a little bit unforgiving, and sometimes it's just plain crazy. And that's kind of how I felt that the Tenkaichi series was a lot of the time, where the enemy was just really powerful, and I didn't feel like there was anything that I could do to beat them. And I feel like that a lot of the time in the story mode. And the story missions are even actually easier than a lot of the parallel missions I was briefly going over before. But basically the best thing to do is to kind of get as far as you can in the storyline, level up as far as you can until you hit a wall where you just get totally demolished, and then just kind of back out and run over and do some parallel quests. And honestly, you just kind of have to grind out the parallel quest. And this is the part of the game. I like the combat. The combat, I'll kind of go over the combat a little bit more about what I don't like as far as the parallel quests go and combat in general in the parallel quest. But it can get pretty grindy, especially depending on what it is that you want to do. So let's see, let's go over here. So for instance, if you're just wanting to grind out levels, to be honest with you, I haven't looked up to see what the best way is to level up really fast. I know there's a way to do it, I don't know what missions are like the most efficient to kind of go through, and if I'm even at that point yet. But essentially what you want to do is you want to come up to these parallel quests, and they're basically star rated for difficulty. So you want to go to whatever star you're on and find something that's really easy for you, and just kind of play it over and over again. And if you click over, you can kind of see what rewards you also get. And the basic rewards, they're all randomized, which is another thing that I do not like about this game. Where can I go? Let's see. For instance, this one. Prepare for the attack of Saiyans. There's a little mini quest in here where after the first time you fight the first 2 guys, which I want to say are the first 3, which are Krillin, Yamcha, and Tien. Sometimes another time patroller pops up, and if you talk to him, you end up having to fight them, and if you win, you sometimes will get a Dragon Ball, and sometimes you won't. And if you collect all 7 Dragon Balls, which takes a long time, like it took me about 2 hours to kind of restart this over and over and over to get all 7, you can do a couple of cool different things, like for instance change the way that you look, you can get a randomized new character, randomized new rare item, you can become more powerful, and you can even respec, basically, like reset all of your stats. But anyway, like I said, I spent 2 hours probably playing over this, and if you take a look here, the Evil Rise Strike and Evil Race Strike, those are the only two things I unlocked the entire time. I didn't get Piccolo's Turban. I got a couple of the Goku Turtle Hermit G, like I got the wrists or the gloves, and I got one item of the Gohan Demon Clan clothes, just one. And I played the match, I want to say maybe 30 times, and I only got 4 out of the potentially, I mean, for the clothes by themselves, you can get, I want to say 4 or 5 items a piece, so that's 10, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 4 out of the 9. Actually, I'm retarded. 4 out of the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 4 out of the 15-ish items that you can get, which I think is pretty insane, especially when you want to think about the fact that this is one mission, and every single one of these has other things that you can get. So, for instance, here, if you want to get Yamcha's clothes, you could have to fight this one. Right now, I'm actually trying to get Super Saiyan 2, which is over here. And this one's actually a pretty freaking tough mission just to begin with, because you have to fight Hercule, then you've got to... It's actually just insane, this one. I haven't even beaten it yet, but just grinding up to the point where I'm strong enough to beat it, and then having to sit there and grind through it over and over again just so I can get Super Saiyan 2, just makes me, I don't even know, want to give up on the game just because I don't like grind. Eventually, though, the good thing is that once you kind of level up, a lot of this stuff becomes purchasable inside of those stores that we looked at before. Like, for instance, the regular Super Saiyan right here. I played through this one probably about 10 times and didn't get Super Saiyan, and eventually for 40,000 gold or whatever, I can't remember what the currency is called, eventually I was able to buy it. It was pretty expensive, but I had plenty of gold to do it. So not all is lost, but if you want to get it for free, you're going to be grinding a lot. You're going to be spending a lot of time doing it. And a lot of the time it's for things that, like if you're grinding for gear, it's just grinding out items based on the way that you want your character to look, because they honestly don't have that much of an effect. Anyway, but let's jump into some of these parallel quests to kind of see what they are. Basically, what you can see here is, for instance, the Invading Earth one, you have a couple of different win conditions, but whenever they first start off, this is what you see. Defeat the Great Ape Vegeta, and then you have these 2 other things here that you don't actually know what they are. And that's part of the idea, is that you want to play through these and just kind of experiment with what you can do. So for this one, you want to clear with Nappa surviving, and then sometimes what'll happen is I don't want to say hidden characters, but sometimes you'll get to fight these ultimate fights. Like in one of them, if you beat Krillin before you beat Goku, Goku turns into a Super Saiyan, and you have to fight him as a Super Saiyan, which is super hard. And if you beat that, you're still not guaranteed anything, but then you get the ultimate finish, and you just get to, I guess, see what the win condition is. So you're not rewarded with it, it's just kind of finding out what it is. But basically all these are is to help you level up. And then you also get to actually choose which character you want to fight as, which I think is pretty cool. And if you kind of right click or use your right button to circle through, there's a bunch of different outfits. And not only are the outfits different, but they also change your skills that you have. And your stats. So this is another reason why I actually kind of like the parallel quests, because you get to play as anybody that you want to, and you can actually level up using other characters that might be stronger than your character, which I also think is really cool. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to be Teen Gohan.
Thank you!
Because he was always my favorite when I was a kid, because I watched the Cell Saga 16,000 times on Toonami, because it was the only one on.
Moving out.
Alright, and so as you saw, you get to pick the rest of your team members as well. Alrighty. Alright. So take care of him. Let's go here and take on Vegeta. Alrighty. So this constant chasing is what I don't really like about the combat system here. Seems like every 5 seconds you're just stuck chasing the guy that you just shot across. Not to mention, if you're long range, most of the time if you're using your special attacks, you're gonna miss them. So to me that's really aggravating, really annoying, because it's just, it's so unreliable. And I get in a fighting game that's kind of the point, you know, if you're on the defending end of that, you want a way to actually be able to dodge out of the way, you know, you don't want to just be totally screwed being on the receiving end of a Super Kamehameha wave. Alright, so you can see my stamina bar right there is actually refilling and I can't do anything until it does. Let's see. Alright, so you can see how strong the regular, or actually I guess the ultimates are compared. And I just unlocked a skill, so that's basically one of those things where, one of those random objects that you have the potential to unlock. So we'll see after this what it actually is, but I want to say that I have all these already. Alright, but Dragon Ball Z again, basically highlighting why fighting on a 3D plane, or actually on an XYZ plane, is just so difficult. Alright, so we are going to show you just how awesome it is to use Super Saiyan 2 here. Because you can sit here and spam Kamehameha waves all day long. And if you look at my chi meter right now, it's depleting slowly, but these normally take 3, sometimes 4 bars to use every time. So here, you can pretty much just win the game just by spamming your ultimate attack. Alrighty. So sometimes, whenever you're doing these parallel quests, you'll be able to use your scouting meter here and actually kind of walk around. And when you use that, you'll see hidden items on the ground like this. And if you saw the mixing store earlier, whenever I was going through some of the shops, these are the materials that you get to actually mix things with. So you just kind of have to come around here and look for these things and pick them up. Really though, the only thing that I want to say these are good for are being able to build more of those Z-Souls that we talked a little bit about before. Alright, let's see where we need to go next. Alright. Anyway, you can see we've already been in this for 4 minutes. And so imagine having to grind this over and over and over again just to get the one skill or the one piece of clothing that you want to, or to try to have to grind it just to get, you know, whatever levels you want to, or anything like that. It's super time consuming, and it really bothers me because I like the game a lot, but I spent most of the time that I've played this game just kind of grinding because I haven't been strong enough or something like that. I really wish that the game's difficulty curve was just really gradual, and instead it doesn't seem like that at all. Instead it's always like I seem overpowered, suddenly I'm barely surviving, and then all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, how am I going to beat this guy? And then you go out and you grind a few levels and suddenly you beat the crap out of him. And then you just repeat the process over and over again. And to me, that's not really that fun. I like it to be maybe challenging the entire time, or maybe slightly easy if it's something that I'm not super into, but I like the story, or I just like, in this case, for instance, I really like Dragonball Z Xenoverse because I watched it growing up as a kid. But it's not something I want to spend huge quantities of time just constantly grinding out. And there, that's kind of what I mean about also the how sensitive. I'm barely pushing this over and just zips around. Alright, so let's keep going, finishing this up. I guess we gotta watch this.
Disgust me, but I'll transform into a great ape and crush them.
Oh shit. We gotta fight the great ape Vegeta again.
The power of a Saiyan ape is beyond anyone's imagination.
Alright, where did he go? Where did he go? There he is.
How's that? Now this is the end.
Oh, he hit me. Alright, so let's get out of your butt for a second here. Oh, did he grab me? No, I'm here.
Right? Not bad, I suppose.
Okay, that was really fast. Anyway, that's what parallel quests are. If you play online, you can play this with friends, and I'm
Good. Keep
100%
concentrating on your
sure
training.
that's... I didn't actually even get any kind of skill, even though it said I got a skill. Oh, there it is. So I got Meteor Blow. And I think I already had that, so that's not really exciting at all. Anyway, this is probably a lot more fun with your friends when you're just kind of like shooting the shit with them. But single player, it's dreadfully boring. But those are parallel quests. I'm not going to go any further with those. Piccolo here, though, he actually is pretty cool. This little icon right next to his name means that he is my master. And it's colored in, but if you... I don't remember if you noticed that Captain Ginyu was in somewhere earlier in the video and he had one of those guys grayed out. Basically, if you kind of walk around the game, you will see like Gohan, for instance, or maybe Vegeta, or some hero, some main character in the game, and they'll have those little icons next to them. And what you can actually do is you can talk to them and let them become your master. And what they do is they basically teach you all of their super awesome techniques. So for instance, if you want to kind of play like Vegeta, or you want all of Vegeta's really cool moves, and you can become his pupil, and he will teach you all of them over the course of you leveling up. And you can kind of swap in and out however you want to. That's a pretty cool system, I like it, but there's nothing story-wise that's interesting about it, and the only thing it really does is it unlocks new skills for you. And as far as the rest of the game, this is pretty much all there is. I mean, you can fight each other online once you're level 80, and I really suggest that you become level 80 before you do that, at least if you're planning on playing with your character. And this is pretty much all there is to do as far as the hub goes. As you can see, there's a ton of different invisible walls all over the place that you can't really get to, and there's a lot of this depth of field that kind of sucks, honestly, because everything just looks blurry all the time except what's immediately in front of you. And you can actually even recruit players to come and be on your team. Like, I can recruit this Lena person who's a level 50, and you can kind of see what their match records are and all that stuff, and recruit them to be on your team, or whatever it is that you want to do. But anyway, this is pretty much all there is to the game. If you like Dragon Ball Z games, I highly recommend this, just because if you haven't watched Dragon Ball Z in a while, or you've just been itching for a new game, then this one definitely scratches that itch, because it basically reintroduces you to all the old characters. You get to create your own new character. I'm sure that you've seen 1,000 videos of the online character creation. And I don't know, it's just a really cool fan service. I mean, if this game would have come out probably 10 years ago, I would have been flipping my shit and probably be playing this non-stop. And I've actually been playing this a lot, even just because I do think it's fun. I think the battle system is good enough. I hate having to chase people around all the time. I really wish that there was some way that you could kind of make the game more interactive, as far as, you know, like in the show where everything is instant transmission here, there, everywhere. It's not really like you're chasing around everybody all the time. And when you do, most of the time you're running away from like a chi blast, or you're not really running, but you're flying, you know, fighting the entire time. And I wish it was more interactive like that. That's something that even back in the Tenkaichi series, I didn't really like. The game, like, fighting is just really slow paced, and it's sped up a little bit more here, but fighting in the TV show is really action packed. It's well, you know, aside from whenever they're spinning 3 levels power or 3 episodes powering up, when they're actually in there fighting, everything is really fast, really fast. Everything's exploding around them, and here you don't really get that. I mean, when you launch like a super huge Kamehameha wave, like it'll dig into the ground a little bit and then immediately disappear. But I'd really like to see like some terraforming, or you know, blowing up rocks, or carving out just, you know, pieces of the land, something to make it feel like, you know, I'm destroying the world, because that's basically, you know, once you get to like Super Saiyan level 3 and all that stuff, that's basically what happens, is that you can destroy the world if you really wanted to. I mean, think about what Brawly, for instance, if he technically wasn't even able to supposedly power up past Super Saiyan 2, otherwise, like, I don't know, the universe would implode or something stupid like that. And this game doesn't really make you feel that powerful. So that's my biggest complaint. I don't really like, you know, chasing guys around, and you don't really feel super powerful. Even whenever you do launch a Super Kamehameha wave, it takes off like a small chunk of their life. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, I guess for the sake of it being, you know, a fighting game, they have to balance it out. You can't just kill people instantly. That's not really fair. But I don't know. I wish there was something that they could do to make you feel a little bit more powerful. But anyway, that pretty much wraps up this episode. This is Brandon signing out. 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 This is Brandon signing out.